Sophia woke to a light that she couldn't name. Not the sun, not the street light, not the pale glow of morning seeping through her curtains, but something alive, moving within her. It pulsed in her chest, tracing the hollow left by absence, filling it instead with heat, awareness, and something vast she had never known. She had felt love before, but never like this. Never like the fire that had burned through her nights, leaving her both trembling and awake, connected to something larger than herself, larger than him. She tried to speak, to anchor herself in words, but the air caught in her throat. This was not ordinary, not human, not even love as she had understood it. It was a force, wild, uncontainable, and breathtaking. The pulse in her eye, the pulse in her chest grew stronger as she rose from the bed. Her body moved on its own, drawn towards the window, the air, the day outside. She could feel the energy all around her, the city vibrating, the light bending, the space between things humming with something infinite. She pressed her hands to her heart and whispered, "This is real. This is us." No one answered. No one needed to, because she already knew. It was not Christian alone that she felt. It was the flame that had always existed inside of her, mirrored and ignited by him. It was the fire of the universe pulsing through her veins. It was the spark that would not die. Her knees buckled under the weight of recognition, and she sank to the floor, tears streaming freely. All the fear, all the longing, all the questions, they fell away. She was surrendered, not in defeat, but in awe. The unknown stretched before her vast and luminous, and for the first time she didn't resist. The fire that had begun in secret, in sleepless nights and luminous dreams, now roared within her. It was hers. It was his. It was the flame of something eternal, something sacred, something beyond the rules of the world that she had known. And Sophia whispered to the void and to herself and to him, "I surrender, I trust, I am ready." The days moved differently now. Sometimes Sophia caught glimpses of truth in ordinary moments, a breath in the sun, a song drifting past, the quiet hum of the city. In those moments, clarity washed over her, and she felt the flame inside of her, steady, unwavering, and alive. She could almost touch it, feel it stretching from her chest outward, filling the space around her. This is real. This is beyond me. This is sacred. And then night would come. The nights were long and heavy. Her body was exhausted, her mind swirling with the ache of absence. Sleep eluded her, even when she begged for it. Her chest tightened with longing. Tears came unbidden, streaming down her cheeks, soaking the pillow as she pressed her face into the fabric. And then he would appear, not in the waking world. There he was gone, unreachable, but in her dreams, in that sacred space where flesh could rest and spirit could reach. His arms wrapped around her, steady and warm, the pull of his chest a tether to the world she couldn't grasp alone. She would bury her face into him and cry, not for him, not even for herself, but for the intensity of what was unfolding inside of her. The flame inside her grew hotter with every tear, every whispered longing, every pulse of the invisible thread connecting them. He didn't speak. He didn't need to. His presence said everything. "I am here. I have not left. You are not alone." The paradox was agonizing. By day, she felt clarity, purpose, glimpses of the infinite. By night, she felt loss, need, the human heart's inability to hold the flame without the physical touch that once anchored it. She remembered the words that she had once heard, now alive in her bones. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. And she felt both truths at once, the knowing and the craving, and the fire and the ache. Some nights she would wake before dawn, hair damp with tears, body trembling, the heat of his energy still pressed against her skin in a lingering dream. And as she lay there, shivering yet alight, she whispered into the dark, "I will learn, I will surrender, I trust you." And though she knew she was far from complete, far from free of the longing, the pulse in her chest reminded her of something essential. She was not alone. She was awakening. Sophia woke to the quiet hum of the city filtering through her curtains. The bed felt heavy beneath her, her limbs still tired from the restless sleep that clung to her like a shadow. For a moment she lingered in the warmth of the sheets, letting the early light touch her face, letting the pulse in her chest rise slowly. There were moments, fleeting and fragile, when clarity broke through. She noticed the sunlight hitting the dust in her room, dancing like tiny sparks in a quiet fire. She felt the beat of her own heart, and beneath it, a deeper pulse. The flame she had felt growing inside of her over the past nights. This is real, she thought. This flame, this connection, it is real. The feeling came and went like ripples across water, and she could feel the thread connecting her to him, not physically, not in the waking world, but somewhere deeper, where energy moved like liquid light. She tried to focus on it, tracing it with her awareness, feeling it hum through her chest and along her arms, feeling the hollow spaces that his absence had carved. She dressed slowly, noticing every sensation, the brush of fabric against her skin, the warmth of the sunlight, the rhythm of her own breathing. Even small actions, tying her shoes, pouring coffee, were charged with a strange significance, as if the universe had paused to watch her move. And yet, there were cracks. Every so often, a wave of longing would rise unbidden, and the clarity would falter. A shadow of grief would settle over her chest, making it ache. She pressed a hand there, tracing the invisible line of his energy, whispering his name, trying to anchor herself in what was real, even though he was gone. Christian. Her voice was barely audible, but it carried weight, carried meaning. It was a prayer, a plea, a surrender. And for a heartbeat, the world felt aligned, the thread thumbing with quiet life. When night came, the human body reminded her of its limitations. Her limbs were heavy, eyelids drooping, yet her chest burned with absence. Sleep tested her, but never arrived fully. The bed was cold and vast, and the shadows too deep, and the silence too loud. Tears came slowly, then all at once. She pressed her face into the pillow, sobs shaking her body, the ache of missing him raw and physical. Her hands curled into fists against the sheets, nails digging into the fabric, desperate for something tangible to hold on to. And then he came, not as a man, not in flesh, but in energy, warm, luminous, tethering her to the sacred thread. His arms wrapped around her in the dream space, chest pressed to hers, and she let herself crumble entirely. The sobs poured out, each one a spark, feeding the growing fire within her. You are not alone, his presence whispered. Though no words were spoken, I am here. She clung to him, burying her face into the warmth, letting every bit of her grief, longing, and exhaustion flow into the space between them. The human heart was weak, willing but aching, and yet the spirit surged, alive and untouchable. Her tears fell freely, soaking the pillow, each one igniting the flame deeper in her chest. She trembled in the mixture of despair and comfort, surrendering to both the pain and the presence that held her through it. And in that duality, absence and connection, ache and warmth, she realized something simple and profound. The fire was alive, growing, and it was hers. She was awakening. The sun rose soft and pale, spilling light over the city like liquid silver. Sophia stirred slowly, muscles stiff from restless sleep. Every step felt deliberate, measured, as if moving through her own body was an act of meditation. Her hands tingled with a faint warmth, the pulse in her chest steady and alive. Moments of clarity came more frequently now, like flashes of sunlight breaking through storm clouds. A breeze brushed her cheek, carrying with it a strange, almost electric vibration. She felt it. It hummed through her arms, across her collarbone, settled in her chest. She pressed her palm there instinctively, eyes closed for a heartbeat, savoring the awareness. She moved through her day with quiet reverence. Coffee tasted faintly better, the steam warm against her lips, a small comfort. Color seemed slightly brighter, sound sharper. Even the hum of the office chatter had texture now. A vibration could almost feel in her bones. Yet the longing remained, a shadow lurking beneath the edges of her clarity. When she paused too long, she could feel him, the pull of absence, the ache of distance, the invisible tether of their flame. Her chest tightened and her breath caught. She whispered into the quiet of her apartment as she prepared to leave. Stay with me, even if I cannot see you. It was a it was a prayer, a surrender, a confession. The flame pulsed inside in response, a warmth she could feel spiraling up her spine, reminding her that he had not left, that she was not alone. Sleep arrived reluctantly. Sophia lay beneath the sheets, heart pounding, chest heavy. The warmth of the day's flames lingered, but absence gnawed at her in the quiet hours. Her body ached for him, for the physical presence she could no longer reach. And then he would appear, not fully human, not bound by the rules of her world, just light, warmth, presence. His arms wrapped around her in the dream space, holding her as if he had always been there. She pressed her face to his chest, tears slipping freely, the sobs soft but relentless. You are safe, he whispered in the language of energy, the wordless touch of his hand across her back carrying reassurance and love. I am here. Her body trembled as the flame within her surged, rising from her chest to her throat, lighting her nerves on fire. Every tear, every shiver, each sigh became fuel, feeding the fire that pulsed in rhythm with his presence. The paradox of human weakness and spiritual knowing played out in every heartbeat. She wanted him, the man, the warmth, the certainty. Yet the flame reminded her that what she felt could not be confined to flesh. She clung to him until her muscles went slack, until the tremors of longing and love merged in stillness. And in that surrender, in that quiet fusion of absence and presence, she realized the fire was no longer just theirs, it was hers. And with it, she began to understand something vital. Surrender was not defeat, it was awakening. The morning air was crisp, carrying a quiet electricity, and Sophia rose with a heaviness that contradicted the pulse of energy flowing through her veins. Her chest felt full, alive, and aching at the same time. As she walked through the city, everything seemed to hum in subtle, secret rhythms. The rhythm of passing footsteps, the distant hum of traffic, even the sway of trees along the avenue, all vibrated with a pulse that mirrored her own. She felt a strange clarity, a widening of perception that made the mundane feel luminous. She paused on the sidewalk, feeling the wind against her skin. It was more than air, it carried light, intention, and presence. She pressed a hand to her chest, feeling the warmth rise in her body. This is real. This is me. This is ours. Yet longing tugged at her. She missed him with a physical ache that left her hollow in the middle of crowded streets. Every reflection in a glass, every shadow that moved just out of step with the world made her flinch, a reminder that he was absent in this reality. At lunch, she sat quietly picking at her food, tasting only faint flavors. Her mind drifted into the space between worlds, tracing the thread that connected her to him. A memory, a ghost of touch, a whisper of presence. It all made her ache now. She whispered softly to the empty cafe, I feel you. I know you are here. Even without an answer, the pulse in her chest reminded her she was not alone. Her bed felt impossibly large. Night had come with its weight of exhaustion and longing. Sophia pressed herself into the pillows, hands clutching at sheets that could not hold him. Her chest tightened, her breath shallow, tears pulling at the corner of her eyes. And then he appeared, luminous, real in a way that the waking world could not contain. His arms surrounded her, holding her in a space where absence did not exist, where time had no meaning. She buried her face against him, letting every sob escape. Her body shook with the rhythm of the heart, the pulse of the fire within her rising to meet the warmth of his energy. You are not alone, he whispered. His voice was felt in her chest, vibrating through her spine, filling every hollow place with light. Her tears streamed freely, her spirit and flesh intertwined in the paradox that had defined this journey. The human heart's weakness, the spirit's unyielding strength. She pressed herself closer to him, letting the ache flow into the sacred fire. In that quiet surrender, the flame within her ignited fully. She understood, fully, without words, that this love was no ordinary love. It transcended flesh, exceeded distance, and lived in a realm that could only be accessed through both vulnerability and trust. She exhaled, body trembling, eyes wet with tears, but inside her, a steady light burned brighter than ever. The first flame had fully awakened. Though the tears were left to stain her face, he held her there, pressed against his chest, allowing her to breathe, to calm, her eyes to become so heavy that they could not fight the inevitable any longer. Sophia's body relaxed, just enough for sleep to wash over her, even if only for a little while. She felt how safe she actually was.